The Fargo Five, this is the Fargo Fun segment we are moving into here. We've got Rich Early, the owner of Paradox Comics. Hello, Rich.
Hello.
Now, we just got done talking about how you started Paradox Comics and all that exciting backstory. Now, every year, there is a free comic book day, and this is probably a big day for you guys. Why don't you tell me all about it?
Started in 2001, whichever year the first Spider-Man movie came out, they sort of overlapped with that. But a gentleman named Joe Field, who runs Flying Colors Comics in Concord, California, he was sitting in his office, and comics had been in a rough point in the late 1990s, and he was looking out the window, and he's like, what can we do? What's going to happen? And there was this long line he saw, and it was leading up to the Baskin and Robbins across the street, and they were having free scoop day. And he said to himself, now we could do that. Comics are cooler than ice cream, so we could do that. And he just got the ball rolling between, there was one distributor for all comics at the time, and he got together with them, and they were excited, and the publishers got excited. Just kind of one thing led to another, and now it's publishers. There's almost 50 publishers putting out free comics. They're for all ages. They can be things, some of them can be reprints, but a lot of them are showcases of upcoming events, especially like Marvel Comics and DC Comics. They'll kind of kick off their summer events with preview books and things along those lines. So it's really become just a huge and awesome day. Last year was our 30th anniversary, and we had our first ever guest in town. We hosted Chris Claremont, who wrote the X-Men comics forever and ever and ever. And basically, if you know an X-Men movie or TV show, it's a Chris Claremont story. So we had a true legend. He was kind of the last guy Stan Lee hired in his tenure at Marvel Comics. So that was a big honor for us. So
you guys are located on Robert Street for now. For how much longer?
26 Robert Street, yep.
And you guys have been there forever. You're going to be moving not too far. We'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But it's going to be right there, so it's right downtown. You park.
At your own discretion.
Parking has always been a little tight there, and I can't imagine an event like this. They must be going all the way around the block.
Early Saturday morning tends to work out fairly well on Free Comic Book Day. So if people know us, some people know us, some people don't. So we have two locations in the Gardner Building. One is on Robert Street itself. That's our retail side. Yeah. And the other is in the opposite side of the building facing the Plains Art Museum. Literally,
when did
just
you get
see
that?
it out our back. For 10 or 12 years now.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
Not back when I was doing Magic the Gathering.
No, definitely not. Yeah. So that's our event center where all of our game tables and things like that are. Whoa. That's going to be where we're hosting the free comics this year. So the line's a little strange because we're going to have you come down the alley behind the Gardner Building. But, it works pretty well. So, and so if people are coming down, just be aware that back side of the building, that's where the line for the books is going to be. So, we break the books up into three groupings. We have a table for the all ages comics. Then we call one of our tables pop culture, which is generally anything from Transformers to Star Wars to Spider-Man, that sort of things. And then our last table is mature, which doesn't always mean 18 plus. It can be independent comics, but sort of targeting different audiences at each table, if that makes sense. So we just want to make sure that mom and dad know exactly what they're picking up and don't get the wrong things in their hands.
So this isn't exactly just one. So when you were telling it to me, I was imagining it's like, okay, they make one comic book just for Free Comic Book Day.
Oh,
and
no.
Picking up
this
is
the major event. Every publisher puts a book out. I think there's 48 books this year, and we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Transformers, Ultimate Spider-Man.
They all make their own Free Comic Book Day comic.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. They're all labeled as Free Comic Book Day. They're special editions. Some of them over the years have had a great deal of collectability because it can be the first appearance of a character or the start of a new story. That isn't really the goal, but just as an example, that does happen too. So, like last year, one of the biggest books was Dogman. Dogman is probably the single most popular all-ages book, graphic novel of all time, and they had a comic, and I think we ordered 1,000 copies of that thing. So, where
do your supplies come from? So the distributors just give you how do they decide how many to give you, or
we
you got to pay for them? You got to buy them.
Yep. So we buy them at
so it's not free. It's not free to you.
No, it is not. We set a budget. That's why a lot of times you'll see there are some that we've got 400 copies of and some that we have 10 copies of, and it's partially we've got to guess the popularity of a book, and partially we've got a budget. So those two things we just kind of weigh those.
How many different people do you? I mean, is it easy to predict? You said it's been going on for 20 years now, 24 years now.
Yep,
I mean, is it easy to predict how many people, or is it kind of?
Yes and no. It's varied a lot. We'd reached kind of a crescendo in the mid 2010s. It dropped off a little bit, and it's been hard to get the big numbers back from pre-pandemic. But last year, we had this picture. We had a line around the building when Chris Claremont was here. He signed 700 items total. Wow. So we had double that number for attendance. There was a lot of people there for that event last year. So and we've had that before. We've had 1,200 to 1,500. Probably post pandemic, we're in the 400 to 600 range, things like that.
And you're only open for like 12 hours, so that's like 100 people an hour.
Yeah. Well, they line up early, and by noon or 1 o'clock, you kind of get the main part of the line through usually. So
it's maybe better to come later at the day.
It can be, yeah. The only issue is you're going to miss out on those comics that we've only got those 10 copies of. So depending on what you're looking for, it is good to get in line and plus the line is exciting and fun. We've got people outside to entertain you, and we've got sales going on. We're starting all kinds of stuff in the shop. With our move, we're starting some warehouse discounting sales. So
when is this? I don't even think we mentioned the date yet.
There is no date yet. That's why. So it's for the move. It's either going to be in August or September, but we're
for the comic book day. Comic book day.
Saturday, May 4th.
It's May the 4th.
Yep,
okay, so it's the May the 4th be with you? Like, is it that? What's going on? Is it that every year?
So Free Comic Book Day is always the first Saturday in May, so about every 6 years it lands on a Saturday.
Years.
Yep, exactly. So depending on how leap year works, but every 6 or 7.
You must have some special Star Wars comic books, or what?
There are 2 free Star Wars comics as part of Free Comic Book Day.
You got to get. Is that the one? You must take one of each for yourself and put that in your special collection. Your own.
I don't have a single Free Comic Book Day comic at home. I want to make sure everybody who walks through the line gets a copy. So
how selfless of you! It's great. Yeah. So, what's ones to be really excited for? What's the one? I mean, I would imagine May the 4th be with you. It's May the 4th be with you. Hello.
Well, the 2 big books this year though are number 1. There's an Ultimate Spider-Man comic that just started, and it has brought in Ultimate Comics or something Marvel did about 20 years ago, and they revitalized it. The concept of Ultimate Spider-Man is you can pick up this book and you would never have needed to read a Spider-Man comic before in your life. Yeah. It's as though this is the very first time a Spider-Man comic got published, and it has just been an absolute monster hit, and they're publishing number 1 for free on Free Comic Book Day. That's going to be great. The other big book, Robert Kirkman, the guy who created The Walking Dead, wrote The Walking Dead, is behind the TV show, the graphic novels, and all that kind of jazz. He recently took on the Transformers and G.I. Joe universes.
Whoa.
This sounds a little, my first reaction was, this is like 1980s nostalgia, and it is, but he's re-envisioned the whole thing and added another book, a brand new sci-fi series that he writes himself also, and that has just been unbelievable. And they've got an original comic called The Energon Universe, and everything in there, rather than being a reprint, is all new material. So those are the 2 books I'm most looking forward to for our readers. So.
And is that him, or it's already been going on? I want to hear more about this this comic book, the Transformers. He's redone he's been doing this for a while.
Right, 7 issues are out so far, and it's it's crazy. I was 14 when Transformers came out, and I was never a fan. I've never been a Transformers fan, but the first 6 issues of this book are like the best comics that were published all last year. It's just absolutely fantastic stuff, just so modern, so reinvigorated, and so exciting. It's I can be kind of a aficionado about comics, so I get into inks and colors and layouts, and sometimes you get a popular book and all those things are not because they rely on the name on the cover, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, whatever.
Yes.
But this book is an absolute tour de force of great comic book making. It's just incredible. So.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I loved The Walking Dead, so I'll have to check that out. We are going to move on to Fargo Fresh after here. One more time, tell us where it is, when it is.
Sure. Free Comic Book Day, Saturday, May 4th, Paradox Comics Cards, 26 Robert Street, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Very cool. We'll come back with Fargo Fresh, so don't go nowhere.